Now we know a little bit more about why this trade went down yesterday, Falcons fans. Welcome into Falcons Today, presented by Prize Picks. You're hanging out with your guy, Moose. The Falcons traded for Wanya Morris from Kansas City, and for the most part, we all thought, hey, this is just for depth. It's more competition. We're getting a little older on some spots on the offensive line. There's a glaring need at right tackle. It makes perfect sense. And then this came out. The Atlanta Falcons have placed Storm Norton on the PUP list. I'm not laughing at Storm Norton, but it is kind of funny that we get this news almost immediately after the trade news comes out. He missed the entire 2025 season after undergoing surgery on his ankle in August. This was last year, and it does look like the ankle has not gotten any better anytime soon. Here's another thing you need to know. When you are put on the PUP list before roster cutdowns, you are automatically forfeiting the season. So he cannot play at all in 2026. Now, again, not something that is going to be deleterious to the team, in my opinion, mostly because he was going to compete for the right tackle position. That's why we have Jawan Taylor. That's why we traded for Wanya Morris. There's Michael Jarrell is there. You still have Jack Nelson, who's more of a left tackle, but the point remains the same. You have players that can fill in that position, but now Storm Norton is out. It is bad news for him. My heart goes out to him. I'm sure he probably feels horrible, right? You miss an entire season of football, and then you're not even remotely close to being ready to play again. It's another season out. 2 years of not being able to do the sport that you love. That's got to be tough. But like I told you, the PUP policy remains the same. Players can only come off of the PUP if they replace the list at roster cutdowns. If they go on the list before the cuts, they're done for the year. So he is done for the season. It's tough, man. I feel bad for him. But again, football goes on, and that's why the front office is taking measures to make sure that this position has a relevant competition to replace the right tackle position. So we're still good at left tackle. We're still good at guard and center, and we're fine. The Falcons' offensive line is not taking a massive hit, so it's not the biggest and worst news possible, but it is something to keep an eye on. And here's what AtlantaFalcons.com had said about the Norton injury. Norton did not play for the Falcons during the 2025 season after undergoing surgery on his ankle last summer. Norton began the season on the injured reserve list, but was designated to return on October 22nd, and the team never actually officially activated him from the injured reserve. However, and Norton's availability expired after a 21-day window. So they opened up his window of availability. They never activated him. He went back on IR, and it's clear there's a reason why. I am wishing him a very speedy recovery. There is no doubt that I think this is tough on any player, especially if you're, trying to make a living for yourself playing the game of football. This is really tough. But again, now it makes more sense why we went out and traded for Wanya Morris, who is, by the way, 6'6", 307 pounds. So I'm sure Bill Callahan's licking his chops, making sure that he's got a couple of reclamation projects to kind of master and take over here this upcoming season. And as far as, play goes, he's not a good pass blocker. Yikes, 23.7 is bad. Run blocking is a little bit better, his run blocking was way better, 83.2. His overall blocking grade falls somewhere in the middle. If you're awesome at run blocking and absolutely atrocious at pass blocking, you're probably like a backup swing tackle at best. But his career has not been terrible. Maybe? I don't know what you consider terrible. It's not good. But I don't think he is, out of the league worthy just yet. Although he has allowed 9 sacks and 15 penalties committed. It's definitely not been the best start that you're looking for. But, there's a lot of upside to look at. 26 years old, Super Bowl champion, 6'5", 6'6", depending on why you look at it, with shoes on, 307 pounds. There's a lot to like here. So Bill Callahan will certainly have his paws all over all of these players at that right tackle spot, no doubt. Now, before I continue on with the rest of my episode, lunch is trying to come back up. I do have to remind you guys, today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Look, you got the soccer championships going on tonight. And I'm hanging out with the guys. We're going to go do a little watch party for that as well. And I'm going to be loading up the Prize Picks lineup. There's no doubt in my mind, because it is the best app to win cash while watching sports. Up to 2,000 times your money when playing Prize Picks. So if you wanted to get in on all the action during the soccer championships, you got to do me a huge favor and check out what we've got. You can do team picks on this as well. I'm rocking with the United States. You know I had to. And I'll give some credit to the brothers up north with Canada. Also, they've got a max discount play that you will love. It's actually called the Rep Your Side discount. So if you're repping the United States, which I highly recommend you do, you can get in on this as well. All you got to do is download the Prize Picks app. Use code HMA to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code HMA to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. All of that in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks. It is good to be right. So the O-line has to be addressed next offseason. I firmly believe that. Whether that's in free agency, and there don't seem to be a ton of great free agents that are going up again next offseason. There's going to be a lot of great guards, but the Falcons don't really need any guards. Matthew Bergeron and Chris Lindstrom are holding the fort down well. So that means you got to look to the draft to add a couple of tackles next offseason. But my question remains to you, how many offensive linemen should Atlanta add in 2027? I think you maybe sign one, you draft two. Because at this point, we've got 9 draft picks, so yeah, I think adding 3 extra offensive linemen, that would do the trick. But you let me know in the comment section down below. I also think we're forgetting that Jake Matthews, although he has 194 consecutive starts in the National Football League, which is the most of any at his position, he is 34 years old now, so he's not a spring chicken. You've got to start thinking about the supplantement opportunities for that left tackle position. So let's do a couple of quick hitters. I want to preface this by saying this, and I cannot stress this enough, JD. I know it's really early on to start thinking about the 2027 draft. You haven't even played 2026s. So these are just a couple of players that I believe are going to be higher-end tackles the Falcons could have an eye on and could scout throughout the season. Let's start with Cayden Green from Mizzou. Cayden Green is easily, in my opinion, in all of this, probably the best pass blocker out of any tackle in this entire draft class. He's actually ranked the second highest tackle in 2027. 7 pressures allowed on 367 pass blocking snaps against the SEC. Pass blocking tape sits amongst the best in the class, and he is a first-team All-SEC player in his first season at left tackle. But after everything that you see, they project him as kind of like an all offensive lineman. He can play tackle, he can play guard, he can play center, but you would most likely project him as like a left or a right tackle. And throughout November of 2025, 238 pass blocking snaps, only 1 sack allowed, 85.9 pass blocking grade. That's pretty impressive. That's very impressive, actually. So a name to keep an eye on for sure, Mr. Cayden Green from Mizzou. Let's stick in the SEC for the remainder of this list, actually. We'll go with Trevor Goosby. Now, in terms of raw athleticism, easily the best offensive lineman in the entire 2027 draft class. It's not close at all positions. He is a freak of nature. He kind of reminds me of Tristan Wirfs. 6'7" length, so he's long, he's agile, he's fast, he's got rare timed athleticism, the fastest mover in this class. He does need a little bit of polishing on his technique, but I also think that under Bill Callahan, that can be changed immediately. So if you added the athleticism plus the technique training from a guy like Bill Callahan, you could be looking at an all-pro. And this guy has all of the makeup to do that for sure. Last year, PFF grades, 82.1 run blocking grade, pretty damn good. 80.1 pass blocking grade, pretty damn good. I talked a little bit to some of the Texas Longhorn fans in the office. They're really high on this guy. And, funny enough, in the very early mock drafts of the 2027, guess who is mocked to the Atlanta Falcons? Trevor Goosby. So, it's already on the radar of some folks like Falcons Wire who made an entire article about it. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out right now. It's a very, very good one. All right, last one. Let's go back to what's that coming down the track? The University of Georgia. Ernest Green. You got to throw a little UGA player in here, right? Now, definitely not someone that's going to go in round 1 or round 2. In my opinion, this is probably a day 3 pick. But in terms of like relevant starting experience, he's got tons of it. 23 left tackle starts, 9 at right tackle, and only allowed 1 sack at right tackle too. So that's pretty good. Dad played for the Chargers, so he's got some NFL bloodlines to him, and he was a freshman All-American. So a lot of good things to get your liking about Mr. Ernest Green, and all the Falcons fans and Georgia fans that kind of combined together, they know about him. 3 years of SEC starting experience across both tackle spots, 6 pressures allowed in 9 starts, and he does have a really nasty back injury that kind of limited him and kind of slapped that drive power last year, which is ultimately why I think he falls to like the 5th round, in my opinion. Otherwise, you'd be looking at like a 2nd or a third round pick. But it is time to start thinking about the future. And if you're a Falcons fan and you're thinking to yourself, we don't have to address this right now, maybe not right this moment because it's June of 2026, but it's never too early to start thinking about the future, especially if we're all thinking that there's a possibility the Falcons draft a quarterback next year. You got to protect him. And as this line gets older, we need more developmental players to learn in the system. All right, that's all I got for you on today's episode. A little quick hitter on the back end there. If you made it to the end, hit subscribe. Let's grow to 55,000 before we hit the start of the NFL season. As always, Falcons fans, rise up and be cool.